Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI Friday tier for the summer season 4. We're here for Monza, the Italian Grand Prix Round 2, a sprint race event. One-shot qualifying is with us right now before we find ourselves ready for the sprint race, the short sprint race. And currently it's Sir Maxon who's looking to try and take the pole time from Heischler, the top 2 in the championship, the top 3 in the championship with Nevayan in P3 as well. But Heischler's got there on the straight into the braking zone. And on the exit of the corner, who will have it? Sir Maxon's got the advantage on the throttle. Will they get there up to the line? Heischler's going to try everything they can. No, Sir Maxon has done it, and a brilliant final corner secures the job for them in the end. What a qualifying session to begin with. Absolutely rapid. The sprint event is definitely alive. That is Sir Maxon on pole position and Heischler in P2 with Nevayan in P3. The race director is on your screen and we'll be back for the sprint in a little bit. This is going to be absolutely epic. I cannot wait. 2 disqualifications and 1 non-lap time. That's from Zingy, Tom Robb and Pursoon at the back of the pack. Very interesting indeed. We'll see you in a bit for the race. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get there into turn 1? Sir Maxon on pole positions. That's a Williams on the inside line already, trying to make a run for it if they can. Sir Maxon holding on nicely. It's Nevayan and Heischler who are side by side, but it's Nifo who will be ahead on the inside line. A bit squammy on the exit. It's Charlie and Devon Young side by side, turn P4 right now, and I think they're going to stay ahead of the Williams driver. The Williams driver having a very low downforce setup last race. It didn't work out for them, but this is a very different circuit. That is Zingy already, in a brilliant position, but who's gone down the order and off the track? It does seem to be the Aston Martin of Egapro, who once again finds himself in a collision at the second chicane here at Monza, as I think they maybe did a couple of seasons ago, if I remember correctly, unless that was somebody else. It's happened before, at least in LSI. That's what I do know. Such a shame to see the damage in a massive train of cars that we will find. But it's Zingy from the back of the pack at P10 to P6 already, making massive gains. Sir Maxon, though, still leading the way. That's a marker board there as somebody goes wide into it. It's Tom Robb, who's a little bit further behind, as it's Jericho Willis, P10, the last of the runners of the train. Sir Maxon begins lap 2 out of 9 on the medium tyre. Let's have a look at those tyres just to double check. We're all on the mediums. No, some on the hards. Heischler and it's Tom Robb also on the hards. Interesting stuff. Very, very close into the braking zone as we've got everybody piling in, as a ghosting moment there for Nevayan, who is on that medium tyre, of course, jumping out of Heischler in the crucial moment. Heischler really did seem to enjoy that hard tyre last time around in Austria, and I think a few of the other drivers, I think that was Davies also, or Dave Raptors, who also liked that hard tyre over the medium tyre. And right now doesn't seem to be the faster one, as you can see Devon Young holding on right behind Heichler and wanting to give it a shot, but not quite able to get there. DRS already available. That hard tyre is going to get faster and faster. I don't think it's going to have enough of an advantage by the end of the Grand Prix, but it will still probably be on par with that medium tyre. That's my prediction, but it's not necessarily right, and it depends on how hard these drivers use these tyres. Everybody running in the train except from Eager Pro with that damage. Unfortunately, we're just going to try and assess that damage on the front wing right there. It's on the right end plate, it looks like. That left end plate is completely fine, and that is enough to lose everything. With the big dirty air effect that you get in this game, it just completely kills you. Nifoyan right now holding on nicely, very calmly behind Sir Maxwell, not needing to do anything about it. No one making any moves as Devon Young sends it into the first chicane. Still nobody side by side right now. It's Pursoon in P8 starting from the back of the pack as they try and follow Zingy, who they were also of course along with at the beginning of this race. Just a couple of positions behind, if not a position behind. Willy Tudrili, aka Mil Diomati, as we knew them previously, currently in P7. They do have a gap now to the field ahead, and Pursoon is going to be knowing that this is their best opportunity at going for the move of DRS. And currently riding with Racing Bulls, the team that they won that F1.5 championship with, of course, under the name of Alpha Tauri a couple of seasons ago in F122. It's a bit of a throwback that we can see right now as they go very, very hard through Ascari, almost over track limits, maybe even over track limits, so they've got to be careful of that one. Now, DRS will be crucial for them to try and make this move, but it looks very tricky as they may have already lost that train. It's Charlie and Zingy, the two teammates, now very close to as they go down the start-finish straight. That is a bit of a laggy moment there for Devon Young just up ahead. And here we go, Zingy going to the outside line on their teammate into the first corner. That's the first bit of progress and a defensive reassurance from Zingy as they just slightly pull it to the inside line. There's Pursoon. Oh, and Mil Diomati, aka Willy Tudrili, unfortunately down the order a little bit and losing a lot of ground on traction as well. Terence makes that move. Jericho Willis is going to be looking to try and make the move around the outside as they've got the run, and they will try and follow the Aston Martin, but will Tomrod be able to have a go as well? I don't think so. It's side by side into the braking zone. There's contact from Tom, and he pushes. Oh, he pushes the Mercedes completely off and into the path of Terence, but luckily nothing too much more happens and these guys can carry on. That was a close call. Eager Pro trying to hold on for as long as they can right now. They can't really do anything about it. Top 8 score points here in the sprint race, and nobody really wants to be making any pit stops, so they stay as they are. So Maxon leads the way on lap 4, about to start lap 5 as Nifo is holding on nicely. That's a 3-second from Tom Robb. Heichler, hard tyre. Is it looking quick right now compared to the rest? Well, they've held on nicely ahead of Devon Young, that's for sure, and Devon will have not wanted to stay behind a hard tyre runner in the beginning phases, so they're definitely pretty quick right now, but using a lot of battery to try and hold on with the train. It's all a little bit nip and tuck. It's Heichler braking very late into the first corner. I thought it was going to go horribly wrong, but no, they do hold on very nicely, and they are pretty competitive. So Maxon controlling the race at the moment. Are they controlling the pace though? That's the question. You can get an indication of that on their battery, and they do seem to be controlling the pace quite nicely as well. Now, it's a difficult way of racing in this new game. It's completely up in the air whether you want to be ahead or not. Dirty air can be tricky, straight line speed can be beneficial, DRS can be beneficial. It really depends on what your exit's going to be, and you don't know what your exit is going to be on the straight until you get there. It's so difficult to call in the F125 game. Strategy is brutal as well, so it's really, really difficult to call on what's going to happen with this race. 7 tenths as Nifo has to Sir Maxon up ahead, and they've got Heichler only 3 tenths behind, but that's only going to create a bigger gap for them to kind of push towards Sir Maxon without having to make a move if they don't want to. That's Willy Tudrilli, unfortunately, down the order at Ascari, and at the back of the pack as we see more of a split. Pursoon on their own, still in the points. Terence, the last of the points runners, and there is Heischler going for the move on the inside of Nifo, and they make the move cleanly and very securely. Nifoyan doesn't really push it too much. They don't want to lose any unnecessary ground, not only to Sir Maxon but also to Devon Young behind. They know that it's going to be very easy to lose out with the cars so close in that train. The two Williams following as well, very, very close by. Right now, looking at the fastest laps, I want to have a quick look. We see a 20.3 here from Sir Maxon, a 20.4 from Nifo. They were, of course, the lead cars a few moments ago. So definitely very, very, very quick. But Heischler seems to have the confidence, the desire with that hard tyre. Is it going to be the one to work with, though? 7/10 Nifo had, and I thought it was going to be maybe a strategy to try and pull it back to Sir Maxon by the end of the straight, but Heischler got there in the end and made the move. So that gap is going to be, well, he's going to hope to bring it back down a little bit. It's Devon Young who's putting pressure on Nifo. So we're going to actually have a look at Nifoyan here, because I don't think Heischler would go for the move here starting lap 7 into the first corner unless they wanted to put some pressure on. 8/10 is quite a big gap, and that hard tyre still got a lap or two until it really does get quicker. Devon Young wasn't able to secure a good enough exit onto the start-finish straight to challenge for a move. Zingy and Charlie stay as they are, the two teammates following each other right now. Reserve driver for Zingy, of course. Pursoon 4.8 seconds behind the top 6 train as they started further back. Jericho Willis ahead of Terence right now. We'll have a look at that. As you can see, these two will be battling. The rest of the field has dropped away a little bit. Igapro staying in this race, gained 2 positions right now, and at the rate that he's been gaining positions, he might even score points if he's very, very lucky. Sir Maxon leading the way and about to prepare for the penultimate lap. A crucial point here. Sir Maxon, all the pressure now, as it's actually Nifo who currently looks at losing out to DRS from the cars in front, and Devon Young is going to be right on it. Otherwise they could lose that position to Zingy, so they've got a few decisions to make. Heischler, will they make the call? Will they make the move here on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix? Usually, historically, you wait until the final lap of the Grand Prix, and they're still going to do it in F125. Oh, they make contact, I think, with the rear of the other car. It's going to be side by side with Devon Young and Zingy. Zingy trying to get the switch back, but it's not going to be the case, and that gives Nifoyan a bit of breathing room. Contact ahead, contact behind. Now 9/10 away is Devon Young. Nifo doesn't need to worry about the cars behind so much, as Zingy will make that move into the second chicane. But it's Heischler who had made a little bit of contact, I think, with Sir Maxon into the braking zone, and it allowed Nifoyan to gain massively, looking at losing out on DRS, and it could be all over and they could drop down massively, but no. It's all changed, and on the final lap of the Grand Prix, they're only 6/10 away, and everything is to play for. Zingy has gone from P10 to P4. They're 1.1 seconds away, and they've got a big battle on their hands, which is going to be so difficult to call. There's a yellow there from Tom Robb, unfortunately, at this stage of the Grand Prix, or sprint race, but nothing's going to come from it in the end anyway. Zingy just trying to hold on to DRS. Did they get the job done? Was it enough before we go to the race leaders? Oh, I don't think it is. I don't think it is. It's not enough. Oh, it is. It is. They've just about done it. It's still going to be tough, but they've just about done it. Heischler not challenging into the first corner. They're looking to do it into turn 11, but they make more contact with the back of Sir Maxon, and Sir Maxon's going to lose out that extra performance that they were hoping to have. They were ahead a little bit, and they would have been able to pull away, but on the exit, they have to try and gather their car. Second moment of contact, crucial stuff here, and Heischler is now only 2/10 away, and they will have a go into Ascari, if not turn 11 Parabolica. 4/10. They had a pretty poor second chicane, and they're not going to have the advantage going here towards Ascari on the exit, riding well over the curb with Sir Maxon, bottoming out a little bit. ERS being used by Heischler, but there's not really any to deploy, and Sir Maxon, I think, has just done enough. A brilliant defense, a brilliant drive, brilliant pace on this medium tyre. Heischler's given it everything they possibly could. Nifayan was also there for the battle for a while, but now it's the final corner, and it's Sir Maxon who is going to go from pole to victory in the sprint race and take 8 points to their championship, extending it further. Heischler P2, it's Nifo in P3, and it's Zingy in P4. Devon Young, Charlie Pursuit, and Jericho Willis finishing the point scorers just ahead of Terence, who just misses out in the end. They did have a time penalty, so the gap will be bigger anyway. But that was a brilliant race right there. Very unfortunate for Eager Pride to have that damage in the end as well. And hopefully we can see Tom Rob and Willie Tudrili get back into this race event later on. With now an 18-minute qualifying session and a 50% distance race coming up, with lots of strategy to really deploy. We saw some strategy, of course, with Heischler and Tom Rob, and it was okay. The top three stay as they are. Then Devon Young being demoted one position in the end by Zingy, who went from P10 to P4. The top three in the championship also finish in their order as well. That's Sir Maxon who takes the win for the sprint race. It's Heischler in P2 and Nifayan in P3. Zingy, Devon Young, Charlie Pursoon, Jericho Willis, Terence Igor, Tom Rob and Willie Tudrili. Fastest lap for Sir Maxon, but no points will come of it because it is a sprint race, but also there is no fastest lap point in 2025. That is a brilliant race we've just witnessed, and we'll be back in a bit for the qualifying session. We'll see you then. Thank you very much for waiting. We will be ready very shortly. Hello everyone and welcome to qualifying for the Italian Grand Prix round 2 of the summer season, the 4th summer season, the Friday tier. And we have pursued the first car to set a qualifying lap here in Monza, Italy. They don't want to be at the back of the grid like they were before. They found themselves a little bit stuck and not in the train. So they're going for an early run to try and maximise their session. Their teammate also out on track right now with a brilliant podium for the sprint at least. Can they replicate that in the main race? Well, they did miss out to the podium from Dave Raptors last weekend, but they're still third in the Drivers' Championship and solidifying that third by going P3 and scoring 6 points for their championship just a few moments ago. Of course, the top two, Maxon and Heischler, solidified their runs as well. It's going to be Pursun who backs off their lap, not happy with it, and they're going to allow Egapro to go through, or the Aston Martin at least. It's actually Terence to go through. So used to seeing Egapro in the Aston Martin, and we get a bit of a throwback to see Terence back in the Aston Martin. They're in the Haas last time around, so Maxon now finds the Haas their home. The final corner is upon Terence, and they will be the first one to set their lap here in qualifying. Terence goes to the top of the times with a 19.3, and then we're going to see the McLaren of Heischler take that one away, an 18.791 for the Dutchman. It's going to be one of the Red Bull drivers across the line, and they're going into the pit lane, or they just didn't settle up. I think it's actually, no, Tom starting their run. and then we'll see a few more cross the line, of course, very shortly. That's the other racing ball of Nifoyan, who goes across the line to go to the top of the timings, an 18.588. And there is Jericho Willis. As their teammate is P2, they begin their lap. The Mercedes of Willy Tudrili to P4. Last of the runners right now, Zingy beats his former teammate by just a small margin in the end. Let's have a look at those gaps, shall we? Gap to the leader, 0.033 seconds. Absolutely incredible stuff between the two legends of LSI. That is Nifo, who is moving out the way of a few other cars behind, so they don't get a penalty for impeding. We've got Heischler, who's invalidated this run, and they go into the pit lane, I'm going to assume, as they pull to the right-hand side with the Aston Martin as well. They do what they can in qualifying and go straight into the box and jump ahead of Terence. Not necessarily warranted, but they do it anyway. As long as it's safe, they can get away with it. That's Niffa, who's also making their way to the pit lane. So we're going to run on board with a driver that is on a lap right now, as we see Devon Young start their lap, riding over that first curve very, very hard. Maybe a little bit harder than they would have liked to have done so. They've got their teammate waiting in the wings just up ahead, ready to give a tow. And hopefully no dirty air. Into the braking zone as a second chicane, just around about the 100 more or less. On the exit, try and focus on it as you go through the two Lesmo. And not going too far to the exit curb, otherwise you'll bottom out that floor. On the same for the second Lesmo. DRS now a big slipstream down into the Ascari chicane. That's what they're looking for as Tom moves to the left-hand side to make sure they're out of the way. 75 metres and turn in blindly. It's really tough at Ascari. We saw Pursuit take it almost perfectly in the sprint race. Devon Young just a little bit away from the full cut, but still on the apex, getting a bit of a tow from the car ahead cheekily from Sir Maxon, but Sir Maxon moved out the way, braking and then accelerating just before you reach the apex to maximise that exit. P4 for them in the qualifying session, P5 in the race, and now to P3 here in the second qualifying session. A 0.6 just behind the 0.5 runners right now. Pursoon, P8, they tried to go for a lap, they backed off. They're going once again on fresh tyres already. 11 minutes on the clock though, so they've spent some time in the pit lane to allow for track evolution. First Lesmo right about now. Little bit hesitant on the throttle. On the second one, riding over that curb. And they got some good rotation, but maybe a little bit more than they wanted to. Ascari coming up though, and we'll see what their sector line is. 52.707, purple in that middle sector according to the cars around them at least. And then the final corner will be coming up, and they're using all of the battery they can possibly get away with here. Hopefully they don't run out of deployment. And on the exit, pulling it to the left and then back to the right to minimise track distance. And Pursoon is going to go a 19.1 to P5 behind Heischler, just ahead of Terence there. And it's the outlap for Terence, who's gone on the grass a little bit during their run. Sir Maxon, the pole sitter from the sprint race here, now goes to the top of the times, an 18.2, a huge lap. And this driver is top 50 in the world at Monza, as they did a similar stunt in Austria. So they definitely know what they're doing around this circuit. One of the best, not only in LSI, but in the world right now when it comes to the Italian Grand Prix. And that is a decent gap that Sir Maxon has right now on their banker lap. And they'll be looking to go again. Would they try and save a set of tyres? Well, I can't quite remember if they've already done a run. I'm going to risk going into the race director and hope that we don't have any issues. They actually have used another set of tyres already. So not necessarily saving a set of tyres, but definitely have some less running on one of the tyres at least. Giving Aston Martin a tow by accident. As you can see, the Aston Martin tried to dive across. We've got Eager Pro, who is on a lap right now. Terrence actually coming into the final corner, so we'll go and watch on board with the driver from Hong Kong as they actually backed off on their lap in the end and allowing everybody to just go by. It is going to be back to Eager Pro then, who unfortunately, oh, that's Sir Maxon, sorry, there's Eager Pro, who hasn't invalidated, and we will get to see into Ascari. Tidy. No racing line for Eager Pro, so they're giving it their best shot. A little bit of a lock-up according to the game physics from our side of the screen. Whether that is the case on their side of the screen, I don't quite know. Oh, a bit on the grass there. It's going to lose them some time. Where will they be placed in the end as they cross the line? And they jump to P6, demoting Pursoon and jumping just behind Heischler on their lap. 8 minutes on the clock, still plenty of time to go. Here, we've got Zingy out on a lap right now, but it's also Nifayan who is running and right behind Willy Tudrilli, a little bit closer than they probably would have wanted to. They've actually backed off on this lap and they're going to go again. So we will go back with the Scotsman. Many other drivers also on their lap. It's Heischler who's currently going to set their lap next, I think, unless we're going to see Pursoon or Willy Tudrilli, and that's not, no, that's Nifayan who's right behind, so they're preparing their lap here behind the Mercedes car. Heischler across the line to the right hand side, using every bit of battery they possibly could, and to provisional pole as track evolution kicks in. 7 minutes on the clock, 18.081, a brilliant lap right there to set them up nicely. That's Zingy who's backed off their lap again. It's Nifayan who will be up to try and give it a go very shortly. That's the Aston Martin of Terrence into the pit lane. We're going to try and get another run. It's currently happening. It's Tom Robb who's into the first chicane. They've just started their run, so it would be Nifayan who will be the one to next do it, I believe, into the first Lesmo. I think a little bit wide over that curve, not too wide. Really cutting that inside, but that's thrown them all the way on exit, and that is going to be their lap done. They won't be able to improve on that one, unfortunately. That's the nature of it. When you set faster lap times, you can't afford to do that. You can't improve when you go onto the grass, so if it's going to have to take that lap and go again. Getting that number 2 back, by the way. They're happy with that, I'm sure. And we will see the next few drivers come through. It's Pursoon who is beginning their lap. It's that Tom Robb who will have just got a bit of a tow. They're getting a tow actually from their teammate right now into the final part of the circuit. It's Devon Young who's looking to get a tow onto the start-finish straight, as these guys have really traded in the last couple of seasons. Actually not going to get a tow. They're going to try and back off a little bit to allow Tom to get a bit of a gap. That's to P8 for the German. And it's going to be Devon Young who looks to get a tow in a different part of the circuit, but still quite close. So this is going to be a bit complicated here with the 2 Red Bulls, as Tom Robb's going to have to continue pushing, otherwise they're going to give their teammate a big bit of dirty air if they're not careful. It's Pursoon up next to set their lap. It's another invalidation, unfortunately, another lap that's scrubbed off the board immediately, and it's not going to count for anything. They go straight into the pit lane. It's going to be Sir Maxon, who's also invalidated. They still push, so they must have invalidated at the last moment right there. As the pole, another cell pole, as Charlie does not make it to the main race, losing out on points in the end, but it is what it is. It's Devon Young who's also invalidated. So very tricky now as we get to the later stages of the session. Everybody's trying to push to their absolute maximum. I'll tell you, Devon, that would have not gained you any time at all. But anyway, pushing to the absolute maximum as much as they can. And it's just so tricky. Track limits can be difficult around Monza. Not as difficult as we saw in Austria, but still very difficult. That's Tom actually waiting for Devon Young to go into the pit lane first. That's their run plan for the qualifying sessions. And that's what you can do if you coordinate it correctly. EagerPro, the only car out on track right now, waiting for everybody else, but they're going to get a clean run here in the last 4 minutes or so of the session. Will this be their final run, or are they going to try and go for another? It's a fairly short lap, a fairly quick lap, and an inside line pit lane. Very, very quick on entry as well, so you can go through the pits pretty quickly compared to some other circuits. A little bit over the sausage curve at turn 2, which they're not going to like, but they're still setting it. It's only the first sector. Many corners to go, many straights to pass through. Lots of battery to use, and lots of braking zones to take advantage of. On the exit, getting that throttle down to run all the way to the Lesmo. Trying to keep that minimum speed up. A brilliant circuit to learn about that. And on the exit, nice and cleanly through the second one. ERS and DRS being boosted down the back straight before we get to the final straight before the parabolica curve. Very tight on the inside there for Igor. A little bit of understeer in the later stage of the complex, but gathered it nicely. The final corner. Currently running P6 and 18.9. What's it going to be for EagerPro? 2 minutes 30 on the clock. Pulling it all the way to the right as hard as they can across the line. And that's going to be P3 for now, and 18.4 for the Serbian. Will they hold it? I don't think they're going to get another lap in this session. I think that's going to be it for them. Tom, Willy Tudrilli and Jericho all out on track right now. Jericho will be the one to watch next. Nope. That's Heischler. That's Jericho. Currently last of the runners, 19.9. The entire grid in a McLaren sandwich at the moment. That is one hell of a sandwich that we've got. The question is, who's the lettuce tomato? I'm not going to go into that conversation. Let's just ignore that one. Jericho Willis up next. The F1.5 champion in the EU tier. Despite being an American driver, well, the NA tier, NA/SA tier hasn't been running for a while, so nothing you can do about that. That is a crash on the straight there, warming up their tyres. And Willy Tudrilli will be starting P10 or lower if Jericho Willis goes for that improvement. And we've got a lot of cars getting ready for their final runs. Tom right behind Jericho here. And then the Racing Bulls will follow upon them next. Jericho Willis trying to find a bit more here in qualifying. It can't get much worse than last place. Unless another car disqualifies, they will start at the back of the pack. And they've got almost a full battery, so they didn't utilise it down the start-finish straight, missing out a little bit on some performance. It's going to be a slight bit of a worry, but with a 19.9, they've got a lot of time to gain here. Currently almost 2 tenths down already, so forgetting to turn that battery on. And I want to have a look at the gap to the leader. So 1.9 seconds, they can still gain on this lap from being that far back. On the inside curve, really riding it hard. And we'll run to the second sector line to see what they're doing. But I'm not entirely sure how this is going to go. 1 tenth down, they're going to try and find everything they can in the final sector, but we'll go on board with Tom Robb as they've also invalidated, so that's not ideal for them. It's going to be Pursoon following next, who had a torrid time in qualifying for the sprint. They're now getting another opportunity, and they're going half a second quicker here as they go for Ascari, the most difficult part of the circuit. They had a bit of a wobble, but it looked quick regardless. That's Terence Dunn, that's Tom into the pit lane, that's Jericho Willis finished. EagerPro done with the session. Pursoon half a second up. Where's it going to put them? Will they be able to jump ahead of Devon Young and Nifo and Zingy across the line? It's going to be right there within the mix, just behind EagerPro. P4 for Pursoon. Will they hold on to it? What will their teammate do? P6 for them, going up And it's going to be P4 to demote their teammate once again. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Devon Young, P7 as they go to the line, and they're just going to jump ahead of the Scotsman. Oh, it's not going to be enough for Zingy. They invalidate. Sir Maxon, P2, P1, 18.075. Heischler invalidates. It's pole position for Sir Maxon once again at the last second by the smallest margin. Absolutely awesome from Sir Maxon in the end. A brilliant job for the pole. And they've brought it to the front once more. Heischler, P2. Igapro, P3 with a brilliant lap there. Nifo and P4. Then it's Bassoon, Devon, Zingy, Tom, Terence, Willie Tudrilli, and Jericho Willis at the back of the pack. A dramatic qualifying session to finish off, and we'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. I cannot wait. It's going to be awesome. The same front row as before. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? The inside line for Heischler. Once again, pole position though for Sir Maxon. Oh, it's going to be closer this time. It's going to be much closer. Igapro right behind. They've got a Williams on the inside. It's side by side. Oh, what the hell was that? Willie Tudrilli on the inside line. There's contact. There's also another car up, but we didn't quite see who that was. It's Heischler who leads the way on the exit of the first corner. Unfortunately, he took away from the battle, but all the drama behind was massive right there. Sir Maxon coming back again, but braking early to yield the position in the end and hold off behind Igapro P3. Passoon with a penalty already. I don't know if that's a time penalty. It is a 10-second time penalty and a 3-second for Devon Young. Unfortunately, I don't think Passoon's going to be able to contest that one because, well, if you're going to have to serve the penalty, you can't get it removed, and unfortunately, that's just the way it goes with the F1 game. Realistically, you should have the option to serve the penalty, but that's the way it's going to be. There's nothing you can do about that. Unfortunately, really devastating stuff at the beginning of the Grand Prix, and that is going to be Devon Young right behind Passoon, who is now the lead racing ball in this race, but with a time penalty. What is going to be of their race later on in this Grand Prix, I don't quite know. Beginning the second lap, it's Sir Maxon who wants to now make the move into the first corner ahead of Heischler, but they once again back off. The tyres are on your screen right now, and Sir Maxon has opted for the alternate strategy this time. That is Willie Tudrilli, who had a terrible first corner. It's Terence who was involved in that and lost a lot of ground. Zingy getting spun around off that one, but not getting any damage and still being in this race. Jericho Willis gaining from it all, and Tom Robb as well, P7 for the German driver. Very frustrating for the Scotsman, but if you know Zingy, he can make his way through the field very nicely. That's what we saw earlier on before in the sprint race. Just didn't quite have the qualifying position to give it a good fight later on, of course, into the sprint. But for now, that's the way it goes. And they can see the train just up ahead. It's going to be difficult to catch, but not impossible. They really push enough. It's Heischler who leads the way once again. It's Sir Maxon who's looking to go for the move, but once again just tentative. Not really finding the confidence to go for that position. It's Igapro who's qualified P3, stays P3 on that medium tyre. A brilliant position for them, but it's Devon Young who's looking hungry, who is not able to use any battery as they've got Niffo ahead, who's strong. There is Sir Maxon finally going for the move. There is Devon Young having his nose to the inside line, but they don't actually push for it. Sir Maxon, the new race leader. From pole position, they lost it off the start. A brilliant start from Heischler on that medium tyre, of course, but now the slipstream and the DRS kicks in as Sir Maxon has the move into the first corner. And realistically, right now as it stands, the upper hand. Strategy-wise, this is completely up in the air. A one-stop should in theory be faster, but a two-stop is definitely possible. That's going to be Niffo off in the background there a little bit. They may have just lost DRS if they're not careful. They're going to have to push a lot with the battery over the exit curb of the second Lesmo and into the gravel. But they just hold on, I believe. They will have used a lot of resource to get that gap back, though. It's Bassoon who's very, very close, and they're going to go for that move on Igapro, actually, into the final corner. It's going to be side by side instead. Not quite going to be a switch-up. So there will still be DRS for Bassoon, and they'll be able to gain it nicely and continue with this momentum. But Igapro didn't let it go easy, as there was a 10-second time penalty to Bassoon's name. They don't want to be slowed down, but they also are going to have to try and let things happen in the race of 27 laps. We're only on lap 4 right now. We've got a long way to go. And as I said, strategy is going to be crazy around here. In theory, the one stop, I believe, should be faster, I've been told. But if you want to do the one stop, you've got to commit early. So, unless you really go into it late, you're not going to gain as much time if you don't commit early. So the two stop is going to be a little bit more dynamic, a bit easier to react, and of course it'll probably be better for a situation of a safety car extravaganza, unless you really play it right with the safety car for the one stop, of course, but that'd be incredibly difficult to pull off. Now that is Bassoon going off at the gravel trap on the exit of the Lesmo, as their teammate did a lap ago, but they were able to hold on nicely. Niffo's still within 9/10, but they have brought Jericho Willis back into the race, and it is currently Bassoon who just went and got themselves, no, it was actually, sorry, Heischler who just got themselves a 3-second time penalty in the Grand Prix over track limits. So nothing at the start there. That is Zingy in a battle with Tom Robb right now, who is 2.5 seconds away, and they switch. They DRS train. They allow the Scotsman to go ahead, and they've got Jericho Willis up next to try and catch up to, and that is where the train is, and that's where they want to be for this race. A strategy call may be necessary for Zingy to make and Tom Robb to make to get back into this train. Otherwise, it's going to be a very tough race to make anything more of it. Niffo currently ahead of Jericho, who loses that DRS just there as they made a bit of a mistake on the exit off the second chicane. You could see the wobble, and in turn the tenths lost, and DRS not available for the McLaren, unfortunately, and that's going to make their race incredibly difficult. No DRS for Tom Robb either, as Zingy pushes the limits and finds a way to break. 1.0 seconds for Jericho Willis, who tries to get a brilliant run out of Ascari. They've almost done it, but unfortunately, despite their amazing efforts, they're just not going to have it. The slipstream too powerful up in front from Nifo and Devon Young. Oh no! No! It's Heischler with a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Again! That is absolutely tragic. It's not again, sorry. Sir Maxon got a 10-second time penalty in the Saturday tier, and that's what made everything so close then. Once again, in the summer season, a 10-second time penalty for speeding the pit lane has hit us. And now, there is a whole lot to deal with. Pursoon all of a sudden has somebody in the same boat as them, but also, with that split, they've now got 2 seconds to the car ahead, and no defence behind, because EagerPro has a free run. Heischler committing to the one-stop, pitting early, lap 6 out of 27. Who's going to follow, if anyone is going to follow? The thing is, Heischler's going to hope that others do follow. If they do follow, then, you know, they're good. If they don't follow, then all of a sudden you've got a wall of cars that you've got to get through, and it's going to be virtually impossible to do anything about it. They are on fresh tyres, and they are on 9 seconds behind Terence, but still, fresh tyres, they are pretty competitive regardless. So lots of cars are staying out, everybody's staying out, except from Nifo, who's also committed to this strategy. The 2 Dutchmen go in, so does Tom Robb, as Zingy's now got no pressure from anyone right now around them. They've just got to try and make some progress on Zingy. Jericho Willis has a gap, a bit more of a gap. That's actually a bit of damage from Nifo, which I didn't realise they had. So the one-stop strategy, which they were looking for anyway on the tyre that they started on, was of course also a call to try and get a bit of a front wing repair. So they're definitely not happy with that one, but they should be able to go pretty quickly. If they were holding on as well as they were a few moments ago, then just think of what they can do now. They lost out a lot, of course, and they did drop behind Tom Robb. Tom was a little way behind Zingy, and Nifo was a long way ahead of Zingy. So that just shows how much time you lose by going for that front wing change. That is 3 drivers going for the early stop, for the one-stop strategy attempt. Is it going to work out for them? That's the question. DRS available for Nifo, but cold tyres, not easy to make the move, and it would be safer to make it into the first corner. So they're waiting for their opportunity to really go for a move. That is Jericho Willis catching up to Devon Young, who is very close to the back of EagerPro, and we've got a hell of a battle side by side between the two. Oh, and Igor's just been completely not forced onto the curb, but they tried to take avoiding action from something that they maybe didn't need to, and they lose a lot of momentum as Jericho Willis goes for it as well. In this battle, Zingy hasn't been able to catch up. DRS will maybe be a factor of that as these guys push the limits of each other, but with the battling in the corners, he's definitely going to gain some back from that. Nifo makes that move on Tom Robb on the straight and into the first corner. Not contested in the first corner, taking it quite cleanly. And now they try and make a push for it. 11 seconds behind Heischler. That is a big gap from the train that they were in earlier. But it's the way it goes when you have front wing damage, of course, and you've got to try and sort it out. Heischler, though, 10-second time penalty, and they can't really argue about it at all. So if they can get within that 10-second, they get an extra position already, even though they won't have necessarily overtaken, or may not have overtaken, Heischler. So Maxon leads the way without any time penalty. Then it's Bassoon with that 10-second that will have to see them serve. So the two racing bulls having a difficult time with the time penalty situation. Of course, I say that pit stop situation. Now it's a time penalty for Nifo. It's the pit stops for Zingy and Devon Young, who make a fairly early call. That's a straightforward one for Zingy to go onto that hard, but it's a medium tyre for Devon Young, which is interesting. But they're going for that push, they're going for the undercut, and they will be able to jump Jericho Willis and EagerPro, that's for sure. but I don't know how it's going to go overall. 1.8 seconds as you see Devon Young create that gap with these guys, so that's a difficult one for EagerPro to be dealing with. But from P3 to P4, they're going to be net P5, effectively, maybe P6. So losing a bit of ground, but the strategy is definitely creative in the F125 game. Lap 9 out of 27, which is such a long way to go. You can't call anyone out of it just yet. So Maxon staying out once again, 5 seconds in the lead from Pursoon, of course. Heichler going for that one-stop strategy. And I'm not entirely sure what Sir Maxon's doing. They're also maybe looking at a one-stop strategy. Jericho Willis into the pit lane, and we'll see where Devon Young ends up relative to the McLaren and all the cars around them as well. Zingy, of course, pitting at the same time as Devon Young and looking to try and get within the train maybe, as they're hoping that Jericho Willis will come out in between. They drop behind their teammate and they drop behind the Red Bull driver, and then Zingy will have warm tyres, although not the grippier ones, so it's not going to be an easy race for them to really deal with right now. Tom right behind Nifo, as these guys seem to have been battling a little bit further, but not gaining any time on Heichler by doing so. Same tyres, same time penalty, I believe, as well. We'll have a quick double check of that. No, 6 seconds for Tom, 3 seconds for Nifo, 3 seconds for Devon Young, Jericho Willis, 13 for Heichler, and 10 for Pursoon. A lot of time penalties here. A very, very complicated situation. But not for Sir Maxon right now. One of the best in the world at this circuit. And backing it up in the race pace as well. Despite losing the lead at the early stages, they decided to push for the move, and they haven't looked back since. EagerPro into the pit lane as Terence is promoted. Devon Young goes fastest, but immediately that's taken away from Zingy on the hard tyre, but then Nifoyan goes even quicker as well. So lots of cars pushing. It's EagerPro down to P10. You can see how much time they lost on Jericho Willis and Devon Young. How huge is that gap? Absolutely immense that they've just lost from that one. Hard tyres for them. Devon Young and Jericho Willis, though, I'm assuming by the strategy calls that they've made right now, they are going for the two-stop strategy. Of course, with both 3-second time penalties to their name. Zingy's going to be looking to try and catch, and they're almost within DRS range, so they're also going to be looking to try and get ahead. And hopefully, for their sake, work together to catch further ahead as well. Jericho Willis, DRS for Devon Young, or from Devon Young, but also Zingy has the DRS as well on the back of this train. And is going to be gaining nicely into the braking zone. As the two cars in front will slow each other up a little bit. Not so much, but a little bit. But it's still Sir Maxon who stays out on track. Almost looking to lap Willie Tudrilli at this stage of the race. 7 seconds to Pursoon, slowly easing away from the cars behind. Tom with now a 9-second time penalty to their name as they lose the gap to Nifoyan as well. They're pushing a little bit harder now. They don't have the DRS, but finding it difficult. That's a yellow. That's going to be Terence down the order. Don't think it's going to be a oh, it is a virtual safety car, and that is terrible for Sir Maxon. who unfortunately just missed out on the pit lane entry. It's a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. That's a big penalty for that one for Tom, who cuts the corner completely. I think they've jumped ahead of EagerPro maybe. I don't know if they were already... I think they were already ahead anyway. And this is a perfect opportunity for Pursoon to go into the pit lane and serve that time penalty. Heischler decides not to do so, as they see it's only a virtual, so they don't want to do it. That's a 10-second for Nifo. We're going to get another 10-second time penalty. That's about 4 or 5 we've had in this race now. Absolutely brutal. A pit stop call for Nifayan, who wants to make another one, losing less time under the virtual safety car to try and get to the end of the Grand Prix nicely, but getting a 10-second as well, which completely takes away from the benefit that you get effectively. Oh, and Terence gets a drive-through penalty under the VSC as well for speeding. Incredibly frustrating. Lots of things going wrong. Another 3-second for Heischler, who now finally finds himself in P2, but they also find themselves 22 seconds behind. And Sir Maxon currently, I believe, is still a pit stop ahead with that gap, but it's being closed down a lot by Heischler, so still making good progress. Devin Young not too far away, and with no, well, less time penalties, 6. Currently not too far away. We thought that this was going to be a little bit simpler than Austria. Now, there are more people without time penalties than there were with Austria. Only Dave Raptors without a time penalty for the race, of course, getting a brilliant result. But looking at the sheer amount of time penalty that we've got, it's not quite so straightforward. And it looks like a bit more of a difficult one. And that is Terence, who will pull to the right-hand side and I assume take that drive-through penalty. If Ian gets the DRS and clean air. As they're now going to try and bring that 18-second gap down as much as they can, despite that time penalty now being... Oh, they got a drive-through penalty as well. I did not realise that. A drive-through penalty, clear air on fresh tyres. They're trying to get a bit of an undercut, if you like, on Terence. That's what they're trying to do here, go a little bit longer. There is a risk, of course, if there's another safety car, then you can't serve that penalty and you get disqualified by the game. It's just something that Codemasters haven't thought about, unfortunately. That's the Maxon into the pit lane. And we'll see where they come out relative to Heischler. No time penalty for the pole, which is only more of a benefit. Onto the fresh mediums for the one stop to take them all the way to the end of the Grand Prix. And there is the Dutchman, who will take the lead. At least temporarily. Time penalty wise, I don't know who's going to finish where, but this is absolutely brutal. P1 to P7, everyone fairly close together. Nifayan going fastest as they continue to try and get the undercut here on Terence for that drive-through penalty, of course. That is Devin Young and Zingy. Oh, look, it's a push. It's Zingy down the order, as there's some marker board flying as EagerPro was right behind. I think there must have been some sort of issue with Devin Young and Zingy there as they fought. Pursoon managed to gain from it and get ahead, and EagerPro was almost gaining from it as well. The momentum there for Pursoon is very good, but it's Devin Young who's all over the road. They can't really do much about it. Zingy's trying to have a go, but they lost the momentum as they caught Devin at the worst place possible. EagerPro, would they try and have a go as well? I don't think so. It's going to be Devin Young who continues to try and push. They continue to try and fight. They're only going to lose DRS on Pursoon by doing so. which is incredibly confusing on what's going on right now. It's Egapro who sits behind this battle and watches Pursoon break away as the two cars ahead of them fight very, very hard. But it's the outside line and it's contact from Devon Young as they go side by side, and a double overtake is still done despite that contact. I don't know what's going on, but Egapro is P5, that's what I know, and it's Zingy who is now just basically in the net same position. They just lost out, they gained, the position on Devon Young and then immediately lost it from Egapro right there. DRS though will be available and they'll be able to push. Devon Young on the disadvantaged tyres with time penalties as well. It's going to be a difficult one. That is the drive-through penalty for Nivo, but they did not get the undercut on Terence. And Terence has managed to absolutely fly there by doing whatever they did and making it work. 6/10. DRS still available for Nivo though. And they'll be able to give it a shot at making that move once again. But we're going to go back with this battle. Actually, no. Samaxon, who gets ahead of Heischler, who finally goes into the pit lane. I say finally goes into... no. Goes into the pit lane once again in this Grand Prix, I should say. And here's the battle here with Egapro leading the way. Devon Young into the pit lane. And Zingy now, the chaser. Devon with a time penalty, of course, but having to go for another stop as they went for that two-stop strategy. Will it pay off later on in the Grand Prix? I don't know. And it's difficult to say. But it's Egapro who have the tyre advantage over Zingy. But a one-time champion versus a six-time champion. Experience with no assist versus just a couple of races with no assist. And he should have the upper hand, but the P3 starter, Egapro, is ahead still. And not looking slow at all. Pursoon really turning things around this weekend after a difficult sprint race. Still scoring at least 2 points, but not exactly happy with their performance. With their qualifying that really slowed them down. That's Jericho Willis into the pit lane, and it promotes Pursoon into P2 despite getting a 10-second time penalty, which wasn't really their fault. And if you look at that, take away 10 seconds from their time, they would have been 1.3 seconds away from your race leader. Only only 2 laps older tyres. They'd be in contention for the victory if whatever happened didn't happen. And I have a feeling that it wasn't really their fault because of all the carnage and drama that we had at the beginning. It's such a shame for Pursoon, but it shows promise at least. They know what they can do in their car. So Maxon though, in clean air, is going to be feeling strong. And realistically, Pursoon has got to think about the battle that they're going to have in a few laps' time. They've got that medium tyre that's going to be tough to bring to the end, but not impossible. But they've got Egapro and Zingy, who will be going to the end no matter what on the hard tyres. 2.2 seconds is the gap. Terence loses out to DRS on Nifayan, who closes up to Tom Robb and once again looks for the move. That's another time penalty for Devon Young. And Zingy saving on the battery, not willing to go for the move on Egapro, who still holds on with the pace and looks pretty good. There is Nifo, who's got some business to deal with, some overtakes to try and do, starting further up the order in the sprint, of course, showing some brilliant pace. And on the main race as well, but just not having the fortune, having damage in the first few corners, it looked like. So it's such a shame to see both of these Racing Ball drivers suffer from the first corner and not be in contention for what maybe they could have been. But also Zingy, of course, having that difficulty, and it's a tough one. That is Nifo, though, ahead It's now Tom, the new chaser, pushing the limit on the exit. You can see Niffa really trying to get that throttle on as early as possible. That is a time penalty situation for Zingy, updating just as we have a look. Unfortunately for the Scotsman, it's going to be very difficult to gain on Egapro. 3 seconds for Zingy, Jericho Willis, 6 seconds for Heischler, 9 for Devon Young, 13 for Nifayan, and 12 for Tom Robb. Lots going on here with track limits in Monza, and it not being easy. The two teammates looking to try and work together. We saw Jericho Willis wiggle as he's not willing to fight into the first corner, and they will change positions accordingly, turning off the battery and allowing their teammate to pass. Devon Young 3.6 seconds behind. Fresh hard tyres relative to the fresh mediums that Jericho Willis has right now. Is that hard tyre going to be faster by the end of the Grand Prix? I'm not convinced. I think that medium tyre should have the advantage, especially with Jericho Willis being within DRS range. Also 3 seconds. They have a 6-second advantage over Devon Young. So a huge margin though, 15.7 seconds. Eichler's strategy did not work. The earliest pit stop runner of all. They ended up losing out a lot. Also with a time penalty as well. Big time penalty. Made it incredibly frustrating for them to deal with. They're on 6 seconds now after serving earlier on. Jericho Willis 3. And will be slipstream training as they go ahead of their teammates. So these guys working together to try and gain as much time as they can. Zingy working together with Igapro, or allowing Igor to work with them to try and stay ahead of the cars behind with that time penalty that they have. And they should be able to do it, 14 seconds. Although those tyres behind them are very, very fresh relative to these. And we've still got a few laps to go, about 7. Less than 7. Another 10-second time penalty in this race. That's for Terence, who corner cuts. And I don't know what happened, but they missed their braking point. A yellow flag as they momentarily were ahead of Nifayan and Tom Robb. And now they're behind by a couple of seconds. Completely missing their braking point. And I feel like that's happened a few too many times so far in this event. We all looked good for the sprint race, but this time around in the Grand Prix setting, where the fatigue maybe comes through, although it was at the beginning of the race as well, we've seen a couple of cars go all over the place. Willie Tidrilli looking to try and score some points if they can. 10 seconds away with time penalties, unfortunately. 3 seconds now. It's not easy. That is a pit stop for Zingy. Interestingly, making that pit stop at this stage of the Grand Prix, darting out the pit lane exit and being on absolutely fresh medium tyres, looking to blitz it around the circuit. Fastest lap will be on the cards, although you don't get an extra point for it. But only a couple of laps remaining of this Grand Prix, and I don't know where they're looking to finish. 3 seconds, that's the same time penalty range for Jericho Willis. So as long as they can get through on Devon Young and catch up to Jericho Willis, they will be able to fight Jericho and jump ahead of Heischler, who's on that 6-second time penalty range. The top 3, the only drivers to not have any time penalties. Terence going into the pit lane, as they do actually demote themselves behind Willie Tidrilli, interestingly. So they're not going to be looking at a position, as they were 10 seconds. They had a 10-second time penalty, so they decided to go for it anyway. Is Igapro, who catches up now to Pursoon on the tyres that we thought would have the advantage. And I think this is going to be an inevitable switch, as Pro will have a clear run to the end of the Grand Prix, in my opinion. But I don't know how clear that will be for Pursuit, as these medium tyres are difficult to bring to the end. They will have been thinking about saving on the tyres for a long time though, so they've definitely been saving. 19 seconds now to Samaxon. Samaxon also on a similar tyre age, a little bit of a better situation for them, and they've got nothing to risk at the moment. Lap 23 out of 27, about to bring it to lap 24. Only a few remaining of this Grand Prix, and it's Pro already looking for the move and making it, I was going to say cleanly, not quite before the braking zone, having to go offset from the racing line. And it is still an outright race between these two. No time penalties for either of them, and DRS available for the Racing Bull driver. They're going to try and balance saving their tyres and also getting this P2, which would be a brilliant achievement considering the race they've had. Jericho Willis and Heischler working together to stay ahead of Devon Young, and it's Zingy who is trying to push to catch up here to the Brit. Scotsman just in the mirror. You can see they're not too far away now. They gained 2 tenths at Parabolica there, making good progress, but not really enough to get to where they were earlier on. So I'm wondering if they had some sort of tyre issue that they weren't happy about. A controller player, generally, it's usually seen as controller players have more tyre wear, as they have less flexibility with driving style to try and save tyres. Not impossible, but still more difficult with the finer details, of course. Samaxon into the pit lane. As you can see, that kind of window of pit stops is now absolutely huge. And it's going to be onto the medium tyre, the better tyre out of all of them really at this stage of the race, not even wanting to go onto the softs. Pro is going to be right there, and they're going to take the lead of the Grand Prix. I don't know how long that's going to be though. It's a risk here for Samaxon. They've got 2 cars to pass. No time penalties for either car. DRS trying to be available here for Pursuit. And if that's the case, it's not going to be easy for Samaxon. Samaxon will have saved a lot of battery. Well, they'll have a lot of battery available because they'll have a lot of grip available to be able to push. But with 2 cars in front who can work together, it may not be so straightforward. I'll be honest though, 12 lap old medium tyres versus, fresh medium tyres. You can see the difference. It's absolutely brutal. Day and night, and DRS. Being fought though by Pursuit, who wants to give it a go. They're holding the inside line, but they do back off and get back into the slipstream as they now try and focus on maybe having a go at Pro, as they'll try and follow along into maybe the first corner of lap 26 here. Would that be the wise move? I don't quite know, but this is all heating up here in the final stage, as Heischler's looking to also push away from their teammate at this stage as well. But time penalties may say otherwise. Pro is going to lose the lead of the Grand Prix here. DRS available for Pursuit, but no battery available. No DRS for Igor, which will allow Pursuit to get back within DRS range of the Serbian driver. But it's the Serbian who's going to try and fight it out with the fresh medium tyre runner. How long will that battle last? Well, it looks like it's already over before it's begun. 9 tenths, and then the 1 second margin will come at the end of this chicane. It's going to be completely over already. No question about it. There it is. And Samaxon, with only a little bit of effort, manages to make those moves. And actually, Pursuit hasn't been able to hold on to the back of Pro. So the battle's done, but the order has switched overall. Pro has made that move, has played the strategy right, and Pursuit is going to be frustrated, but Pro goes from P3 in qualifying to P2. That's Terence retiring from the session in the final corner. Not going to be a safety car because it's so late into this race. It's going to be Willy Tudrilli who does get points. It's Devon Young who loses the position to Zingy, who's finally made that move as they made that progress. They made that move on the time penalty range, but Devon Young is not going to let it go easy. It's going to be a battle to the end. Sounded like contact as that was Nifoyan off into the wall. Pursoon! No! Pursoon! Pursoon with a puncture in the final moments. I do not believe what we're seeing. Absolutely tragic. And lap 13 is going to call an end to their stint as they dive into the pit lane and lose everything that they fought for. I do not believe it. Sir Maxon leads the way. That's Pursoon retiring from the session. They don't even want to score the points. They would have still scored points, but they don't aim for it in the end. That is such a shame for Pursoon. That is it. All done. Lap 27 out of 27. Sir Maxon has played this to perfection. Pole to victory. They did lose the lead in the early stages, but it didn't really matter. The dominance from the Polish driver continues here in round 2 for the Friday tier. Sir Maxon rounds the final corner, takes the win in the sprint race and takes victory in the Grand Prix. Sir Maxon wins the Italian Grand Prix for the summer season Friday tier with a fastest lap on the final lap. It's Egapro P2. Absolutely brilliant stuff there with a strategy call that they are going to be very happy about. It's Heischler who is going to be ahead, as Heischler actually slows down for Jericho Willis to take a brilliant podium for them. It's side by side with Devon Young and Zingy up to the line. It's going to be Zingy without any time penalties, and they almost had a go at Heischler in the end, who slowed down just to perfection to not lose a position there to Zingy, but that was very close, and Zingy's going to be frustrated because they were fighting Devon Young there. They could have had that P4, but they didn't get it in the end. That's Snifferyan in P7, it's Tom Robb in P8, and it's Willy Tudrilli who will finish this race in P9, scoring 2 points in the end after all that they've been through. Terence, who retired at Parabolica just a few moments ago, Pursoon will actually score 1 point still, as they will be classed as finished. But what a shame. Once again trying to push the limits. And a few times now we've seen Pursoon with punches. So they've got to try and think about how they deal with that going forward. But this man doesn't need to think about too much other than the top step of the podium and not tripping over anything as they get there. That'd be pretty embarrassing if they did trip on their way to the top step of the podium. I'm joking, you know I'm joking. Sir Maxon on top once again. And there is most overtakes, driver of the day, and the fastest lap there. Jericho Willis, driver of the day, and Zingy with those most overtakes. From P7 to P5 in the end, but overtakes different. Sir Maxon takes victory in Italy. It's Egapro in P2. We've got Jericho Willis finishing the podium. Then Heischler, Zingy, Devon Young, Nifoyan, Tom Robb, Willy Tudrilli, and Pursoon, who will score points. And Terence, who will be classed as finished, but no points will go to their name. The race director is on the screen now, just in case. A lot of time penalties to go through in that Grand Prix. Very difficult to deal with from many of the drivers on the grid. Super tough day at the office. Pit stops are on your screen now, with a lot of strategies being brought into that race. But that is that. Export the session results, and we'll be back for the post-race interviews. We'll see you in a bit. Hello everyone, welcome to the post-race interviews of the Italian Grand Prix. That was up and down for many, pretty crazy indeed. Nifo, I believe you got damage in the opening lap of the main race, if I'm correct in saying, but obviously there's the sprint race to go for as well, so can you take us through your event?
Yeah, I think Monza quality went better than expected, and then I wanted to go to hard. I wanted to start a hard because I knew the mediums were just dead after like 7 laps basically, maybe 6. Like the hards are a lot faster anyway. But I chose balanced because I don't know if my memory serves me correct, but I think in 24 you could still choose hards in the sprint. You couldn't, so I was stuck on medium. And then, yeah, I think I just drove my race. I couldn't. Maxon was way too quick for me, and Gijs was on better tires, so he beat me, and then finished where I started. So that was, I think I did what I had to do. So that was good. And then actual quality, could have been better. I struggled on the second run, didn't improve at all. And then third run I went all or nothing and improved, but I was still way too slow. And then was 0.02 off Eagle, which then will cost me at the start. Then I normally have great starts. Had a very bad one. I just had way too much wheel spin, lost position to Zingy, who, to be fair, I think got the best start of his life. But if I started a place higher, I probably would have avoided a car hitting me from 3 car lengths back, which I find very impressive, knowing that, it's Monza, you kind of have to brake early, but no, let's brake 3 car lengths later, that's fun. And got damage, gave Bassoon a 10-second, spun Zingy, whatever, goes all kinds of chaos, but my front wing was gone. Couldn't do much for the first stint, was basically understeering everywhere. That's where I got my warnings from. And then the third warning was just when I got my wing back on. I just didn't expect the third in, so I got a third one. I don't blame myself for it. VSC comes out. I thought, okay, right, pit stop. Let's just send it. Try to go to the end. Hope people go for a 2-stop 5 or something. Speed in the pit lane, which didn't matter in the end, but was stupid. So I'll keep that in mind. Then the VSC ends the moment I got to the pit lane, giving me no time to react to the delta, giving me an instant drive-through, and my race was over from that point. So I think I maximized what I could with the cards I have been dealt. There were mistakes, but they didn't matter in the end, nor were they massive. It was just don't speed in the pit lane next time, which in the end. So yeah, it was unceremonious, especially for how the sprint went. But I can't even get mad. I think it's just the person who did it knows it's stupid as well, and
Yeah.
just have to move on, I guess.
It is frustrating, but exactly, you have to move on. You still scored some points, and you got that good result in the sprint, so at least there's that. Next Grand Prix, I believe it's Belgium in a few weeks' time, whether you're there or not. I'm just going to double check which track it actually is. It is Belgium, whether you're there or not. Do you like that circuit?
It's a fun circuit. I had a good race there a week ago, actually this week, so it was fun. I'll try to do my best as as long as I don't get damaged and I do my race and I'm slow, but I maximize my points, I'm happy, so let's just hope that happens.
Well, it's still quite a short run to the first corner, so hopefully nothing happens.
Well, last time I did get hit as well, so
Luckily, it's a little bit slower speed, at least from when you're braking, so maybe it'll go a bit better. Thank you very much, Niffer. Really sorry for what happened today, but great effort.
Thank you.
And we move on to Jericho Willis. Jericho, that was a brilliant battle you had throughout, and then obviously with your teammate close together, and then getting that podium. Congratulations. Are you happy with that one?
Yeah, very happy with that one. Kind of surprised. Started today kind of knowing that it was going to be tough. I did a race earlier in the week, and with a bigger lobby, the computer I'm on, this particular computer, couldn't really handle it. There was a lot of frame drops and stuff, and I had a lot of issues. So I was a little nervous. I knew my pace would be off, but I thought, it'll help me manage my tires, which is more important in the race. And that kind of worked, but when you start close to the back with the bad qualifying pace, it's hard to work your way up. But the sprint race worked out well. Unfortunately, we lost the train, so it was just battling for the last point. But that was fun, something to fight for. A good battle with Terrence, and was just about able to, keep him at bay and get that 1 point. And then the race was a lot of fun. Started last and had a poor start, which, as you can see, it actually helped me a lot because there was chaos right in front of me. So if I had been 2 or 3 spots up, I would have been in that chaos and maybe picked up some damage. But going into the first corner, grabbed a couple of positions, and then was battling with Tom for a while. He made a little mistake and lost DRS. Was able to get around him, and then had a couple of good laps, or about a good lap, to push up on Nifo and be able to hold on to DRS. So that was crucial. And then when he pitted, had to push again to kind of get DRS again, I think on Devon at that time, and was able to do that as well. So that was very fortunate. I was kind of surprised that I was able to do that, but I think the hard tire really paid off. If I had been on the medium, it probably wouldn't have worked out, because as we got through about lap 5, the hard tire was definitely quicker, and that really made my race, having that good first stint, and nearly blew it under the virtual safety car, because it's so hard to maintain that gap. We heard Nifo talk about getting a penalty, and it's like, oh yeah, I came so close to getting a penalty several times, because you're trying to keep DRS and the guy in front of you. If it starts again, you don't want to lose out. So you're like just pushing that limit. And if it happens at the wrong time, so I got lucky there and it didn't happen. And then to wrap it up, it was fun to work with Heish. And in the end, I guess he ran out of fuel. I thought he just let me have the podium. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're battling. You're gonna be the one battling for the championship throughout this summer season. But he said he ran out of fuel. So. Maximum results though for the team, so that was great. And a big congratulations to Maxon. He raced great today and got the double win, so really good.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it stands now, but you were the team's championship leaders going into this weekend, so definitely great result for the team. Well done. Second podium of the summer season, as you also got a podium in the Saturday tier last weekend. Do you think you can do something similar in Belgium?
Belgium, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of good drivers in this tier, or in this Friday and Saturday summer series. Just looking at these names of really fast guys here in front of me, and there's 7 or 8 guys here that are really quick. So, it's going to be a battle every weekend, and some weekends things are going to work out. So, hopefully Belgium will be one of those weekends, but we'll just have to wait and see.
We will. Yep. Well, we love competition, so it's going to be very exciting. Thank you very much, Jericho. Really, congratulations today, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.
And we move on to Devon. Devon, that was a tough race. Good pace and decent sprint in the end, but in the main race, it just didn't quite go the way you wanted it to.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was good pace. I can't really tell. I think probably messed. Where was I in qualifying? P7. So that's probably not where I wanted to be. I think I could have done a little bit better than that. Just couldn't really get the right lap. But yeah, maybe good pace. For the time that I've had. Obviously, I've been having issues. I won't go into detail, but so I haven't had loads of time. So I guess that's I've started all right. But now, to be honest, I think it was an all right race. I mean, as good as Monza can be, to be honest. I think it can either be really exciting or really boring. And I think it was exciting, but maybe not in the sort of direction I would want it to be. But really, it was alright. I mean, it's the summer season, so I'm not too fussed what happens. Obviously, I want to do well, but yeah, I think like you say, good pace at times. So yeah, it was alright.
Yeah. Well, we're meant to get the teething issues out during the summer season, so it's definitely just one of them things. Unfortunately, Belgium, very, very, very different circuit. Do you think you can do well there?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. I haven't done any other track. Yeah, I've just sort of managed to sort of get the issues to a point where the game's drivable, and just sort of went on to Monza. So we'll see. Maybe it's better. Maybe it's worse for me. But no, look, it's obviously a good track. I think it's a lot better than Monza in terms of just pure racing. So yeah, looking forward to it really. Hopefully, it can be exciting, but sort of not in the way that it was today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very understandable. Thank you very much, Devon. Really good effort
Thank
today,
you.
and we'll see you next time. And we move on to Heischler. Heischler, brilliant pace, just not the strategy in the main race. Of course, P2, 1, 2, 3 for the championship order, and the race finish for that sprint, of course. So that was brilliant. But yeah, the race, what happened there?
Well, first off, the sprint, like I said in Austria, I have a little bit of skill issue in dirty air. I don't have the courage to brake like I should do. Just don't have the feeling in the car like I should. So I just didn't have the courage to try and do something against Simaxon. I was just staying with him only because I had better tires and needed to use some ERS, so I didn't have enough ERS to attack him in the sprint. I should have won the sprint, but that was just me not being confident. And then the quali, I kind of gained some confidence. I was really happy with the lap I did. I could have improved like 2/10 more, so that would surpass even Simaxon's PB. So there I gained some confidence back. I was happy with the setup, I was happy with the feeling in the car, and then the race came, and to be honest, I was again happy with the feeling in the car, but then the consistency needs to be there as well and not getting penalties and stuff. So I'm happy that the feeling is beginning to come back for me, but now I need to get the consistency back as well. I wouldn't say it's due to the strategy that I ended up P4 out of my head. Yeah, P4. It's just because I lost my brain or something when I entered the pit. I just was making mistakes again and having penalties, and it was just a bit of a mess. But at least I can build from this race and have a better feeling in the car, knowing what kind of setups works for me, because a lot of different setups are possible, but not every setup suits you. You need to find what suits you, not rather than find what's quick.
Yeah.
I feel like, and now I kind of feel like I found something that will probably help me. I can brake like I want to. I don't lock the fronts or the rears that much, and I can push the car a lot more and still save tires. A bit more like I was last game, where I can still push the car, but not lose too much wear with it.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. Sounds like you've addressed the issue and you're improving. So, by Belgium, very different circuit as well. Do you like that? Do you like the kind of lowish downforce, high speed, but still a bit more of a race circuit?
Yeah, I like the circuit. I had a struggling race this week there, but now I know what I have to change. I'm quite sure it will be way better than the race I had this week. So it's a nice one to build up for, or to go to, as well as it's gonna be practice for PSL the week after it as well. So that's nice.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thank you very much. Really good effort today. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Sir Maxon. Sir Maxon, well, brilliant race. It wasn't quite so simple in the opening laps, of course, losing out to P1, but you did manage to hold on for the most part, and yeah, brilliant performance in both the sprint and the main race.
I mean, it felt good. The firstly the sprint, starting from P1 and I don't know, just managing the gap to P2. Heisch obviously on those hards then overtook. I don't know, the P2, and he went P2, and I was expecting him to attack on the last lap. He, I don't know, made a mistake, didn't manage to. So that was basically the sprint win. And then the race, the game didn't allow me to change onto mediums on the start, so that was lovely. And so then on the hards, I was expecting to lose the position to turn one, still need to change my start, and obviously the hard compound has less grip on the from off the line. So wanted to had some battle with Haish, and also those hards.
Uh-huh.
Oh wait, okay. No, also those hards. I don't know. I was expecting them to be faster, about like 5-6 laps in the race. So I wanted to get in front and just race my own race.
Yeah. And you did
Then-
that, but like the tires later on. Do you think that last pit stop was a little bit difficult, or did you have all the confidence in the world that you were going to get back into P1?
So firstly, I have extended my hard stop. I mean, my hard stint for 2 more laps because I don't know. I just missed the VSC. It went just after I crossed the start-finish line, and then for the second stop, I was waiting for Zingy to pit. I just didn't want to be behind him,
Fair enough. Yeah.
so lost a lot of time. But yeah, just was still extending the gap and didn't manage to get ahead of Person and Igo after pit. So had to overtake them and then try to do somewhat of a quali lap on the last lap.
Yeah.
But
Fastest lap as well.
It was only with like 80% battery and made a few mistakes. Obviously a good race, not really much track limits. The setup felt good. The car also, there wasn't really much qualifying pace. That's what I'm starting to notice, but race pace is good. And I think if I'll continue like that, maybe some more wins in the future.
And maybe as soon as Belgium?
I don't know. In the other league race in Viral, the pace on Belgium seemed good. But obviously other drivers had some other issues, and today I again had that driving style of basically pushing on track limits, but then also not really getting them. Like when I'm checking the first few laps, I'm really close to the lines, but just not getting the track limits until the basically last stint.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, you gave it a good effort today, and you got rewarded nicely. So you extend your championship lead. Well done today, and I look forward to next week. Thank you very much, Sir Maxwell.
Thank you.
And we move on to Tom. Tom, that was a difficult one, and also I just want to mention that difficult moment with Terence. It almost looked like your race was going to be over as they missed their braking point, and I assume you would have probably seen them in your mirror travelling towards you very, very quickly. But can you take us through your race?
Yeah, for the sprint race, I think it was the right call to start on the hard tire. Obviously, it's a bit rough on the first few laps, but then I managed to pick up the pace quite a bit compared to the others, which was really nice. But unfortunately, we lost the DRS train, which made it really hard for us I think. Yeah, and afterwards, we were all just in groups of ourselves. I felt like I had the most pace from us, which gave me a lot of confidence because I really liked the hard tire before and now got the proof that I'm also liking it in this race. And yeah, made a mistake in the end of the sprint race, but that doesn't count anymore because the race is nearly over. Then the qualifying, I tried to do some slipstreaming with Devin. Without practice, it's somewhat hard, but I think we managed it somewhat. Yeah, and then for the race, I got really lucky at the race start. From my position, that the Mercedes barely missed out on me, and I could gain like 1 or 2 places at the start. But then I just struggled really hard on the mediums. I just couldn't get them to the right window. It felt like they had the tire wear of the soft tires, and then I also just the grip of a really worn-out hard tire for me, which was really not fun. That's why I gained a lot of track limits early on. Like I think I had 5 warnings into the first 5 laps. Um, then changing onto the hard tire, I felt much more confident again. I think I just favored them a bit more in this game. Pace was looking somewhat good. Then came the VSC. Got an unlucky 10-second penalty for slightly cutting a corner, which was not fun, but at least I could use the direct pitting to save the penalty. And then just trying to survive 15 laps on a set of hards is not quite fun, I have to say.
Yeah.
At least in the one race practice I did, I tried to extend one of the hard stints as long as possible to see how I somewhat can save my tires. I compared to pushing lap, I think I was 1.5 to nearly 2% down on my tire wear, which was nice, but I ended up in over 80% the end as either way. And I was just hoping the whole time that either I could stay close to Niffo, as he had the second more of a penalty than I had a long time. But as soon as Terrence missed the braking point slightly, Niffo just pushed a little bit more than I could and wanted to. And then I was just hoping that Niffo would get a puncture. And luckily there was no puncture. For me it was quite sad. Yeah, but I tried just to finish the race with the tires I've got on.
Yeah, yeah. It was a tough race, but yeah, the tyre strategy is absolutely brutal out there. Belgium, a long circuit, a very long lap. How are you feeling about that one?
I have no idea. Especially not with the new tire wear system and so on. Like I can say, I've had around 30 hours into the first 3 days of the game release, and since then I picked up the game today. I would say I lack a bit in practice for it. Maybe I can get better with tire wear. That could also help in Belgium. But I can already say I won't be there.
2 weeks until that race. So
Yeah, I'm not there.
fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm on holiday.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, hopefully we'll see for, I think it's Zandvoort which should be the next race. But thank you very much, Tom. Really good effort today, and hopefully you can get on top of those tyre issues with time. And we move on to Zingy. Zingy, that was tough. I mean, from the first kind of corner, you ended up losing out. So, can you take us through it?
Yeah, I mean, the sprint race was pretty decent. I had a good pace, overtook Charlie, and I was in the fight for the win, as I usually am, and unfortunately, I just didn't have enough time to battle and save battery and get through all those guys, so it was unfortunate. But going into the main race, I was very optimistic, although qualifying 7th, I think it was, 6th or 7th. It looked a bit bleak, but I managed to get a great start up until Mercedes decided that he wanted to do his best Louis impression. But I mean, these things happen. I had a lot of tire wear from that kind of crash. It was like 13% after the first corner.
Wow.
So you can imagine I couldn't do the one stop that I was originally planning to do. So a bit unfortunate. I also had some other incidents during the race that I don't wish to comment on because I just I can't find the words for them right now. So it's just unfortunate. Yeah, I got very unlucky during that race. I think I could have easily gone for a P2 with my strategy. I was very good at saving the tires on that track, and I learned something from Terrence beforehand, so I knew what I could do to save tires and keep pace. So it's really unfortunate, but you know, Belgium's the next race. We've done a lot of racing there, a very popular track, and I do like it. So I think once we get into Belgium, we should be all right. But yeah, just very unfortunate today that I got caught up in other people's messes.
Yeah, it is for sure. Do you think you would have been able to fight for the victory or just a solid P2?
I don't reckon anything was out of the picture in that race.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. You've already mentioned Belgium. We'll see you next time. Really good effort today. Yeah, thank you. And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you tomorrow for the Italian Grand Prix for the Saturday team. We'll see you also tomorrow for the watch-alongs for, of course, FP3 and qualifying of the Great British Grand Prix. We'll see you next time in 2 weeks' time for the Belgian Grand Prix. Have a good one, and bye-bye.